Hi, my name is Laura, and today we'll be talking about the Coastal Zone Management Act, what it is, why it exists, and how it works. Enacted by Congress on October 27, 1972, the Coastal Zone Management Act provides federal grants to states and territories to conserve their coasts, adjacent waters, and uplands. It also gives states and territories a say in proposed federal actions that may affect their conservation zones. So, how did this environmental regulation come about? Well, coastal zones in the 1960s were experiencing the effect of rapid industrialization. Local governments were unable to control pollution levels in waterways spanning multiple jurisdictions. Since there wasn't a centralized regulatory body, each municipality could pollute waterways as much as it wanted, while downstream municipalities disproportionately bore the effects. Notably, there was a lot of public outcry over the Santa Barbara oil spill in 1969, which at the time was the worst oil spill in U.S. history. Now it ranks second to the Deepwater Horizon and Exxon Valdez oil spills. However, it helped drive adoption of several federal laws, including the Clean Air Act, National Environmental Policy Act, in 1970, and at the same time, the Environmental Protection Agency (EPA) was also formed. This brought about further awareness to environmental issues. The Coastal Zone Management Act created a partnership between federal government and state governments to work together on the goal to preserve, protect, develop, and where possible, to restore or enhance the resources of the nation's coastal zone. So, how does it work? Well, the Coastal Zone Management Act is implemented through three major programs: the National Estuarine Research Reserve System, NERS, the National Coastal Zone Management Program, and the Coastal and Estuarine Land Conservation Program. So let's break these down. The National Estuarine Research Reserve System is a group of 20 coastal estuaries covering 1.2 million acres designated for protection and study through a partnership between NOAA and coastal states. One example is Jobos Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve in Puerto Rico, right in our backyard. The National Coastal Zone Management Program is a voluntary partnership between federal governments and U.S. coastal states that work to address issues such as climate change, ocean planning, and planning for energy facilities and development. It provides states with basic requirements for their coastal management plans, however, gives them flexibility to design more unique programs within these parameters. Finally, the Coastal and Estuarine Land Conservation Program provides matching funds to state governments to purchase endangered coastal estuarine lands that are ecologically important or have other conservation value. Each level of government plays a role in the Coastal Zone Management Act. At the federal level, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration (NOAA) implements the national policies and provisions of the act. At the state level, in order to participate, states and territories develop a coastal zone management program where they define the boundaries of their coastal zones, issues of most interest, and policies to address these issues. The Coastal Zone Management Program must be reviewed and approved by the Secretary of Commerce. If the program is approved, the state or territory becomes a participant and becomes eligible for several federal grants and technical assistance to support the proposed work. Since 1972, more than $2 billion has been awarded to participating states and territories. Participating states can also perform reviews of federal agency actions in coastal areas and appeal anything that may impact the state's coastal management. Finally, local governments implement the programs and often through land use regulation. 35 states and territories, including the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, are eligible to participate. However, only 34 are currently part of the National Coastal Zone Management Program. Alaska is the state not that part of the program. An example of an implementation of the National Coastal Zone Management Act can be seen in San Francisco Bay. In the 1960s, large portions of the San Francisco Bay had been filled to create more living space. 42% of the bay had been filled by the 1970s, and if it continued to do so, it would be reduced to a channel in 100 years. With the creation of the San Francisco Bay Conservation and Development Commission, the filling rate has been reduced and part of the marshland has been reclaimed for conservation. Although the Coastal Zone Management Act is effective, it faces many challenges moving forward. Recent events have shown that growing impacts of climate change will negatively affect coastal areas. Rising populations will put further stress on coastal communities, with effective management will need to overcome. So federal spending on coastal zone management should consider the effects of climate change. For example, after Hurricane Sandy, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers spent $5 billion on shore protection projects, mostly putting sand onto beaches. However, this is just a band-aid in the face of the real problem that coastal zones are facing. In order to more effectively manage coastal zones, the Coastal Zone Management Act should require states to work to restore ecosystems rather than trying to engineer coastal zones. New Zealand serves as an example for improvement. In New Zealand, the government assesses buildings in areas that are likely to be at risk of damage from sea level rise and other coastal hazards and relocates them or removes them. While building coastal protection structures may be an appropriate alternative approach in some situations, it does not fit with the sustainability values of managing the country's coastal zone. So that's a wrap on the Coastal Zone Management Act, what it is, why it exists, and how it works. Thanks for watching.